It's up there with the mystery of boys in the tower and who killed Jack the Ripper. But how did the Liberal Party fall? In 1918, they were sitting pretty in government, revered by the public as the party that won the war. But 4 years later, Lloyd George had been ousted, the split amongst the party had been more pronounced, and the Liberals would never be seen at the helm again. It's often thought that the Liberal Party were ruined by the war, that the Asquith-Lloyd George split left irreparable damage in the party. But even from the time of its greatest success, the election victory of 1868, the Liberals were in a state of decline. The Liberal Party seized power in 1868 with William Gladstone's first premiership. Gladstone was a very free Liberal, intent on loosening economic and political restraint, an early laissez-faire mentality. But his reforms alienated his supporters and a lot of the middle-class vote, pushing them towards the right and to the Conservative Party. In 1886, the Liberal Party reached a real roadblock. The issue over Irish Home Rule was a deeply complex one. Some Liberals supported the nationalistic movement for Irish independence, while others recognised Ireland's value to the UK, caused a fractious split in the party. They would not be in majority power for the next 20 years, with leadership divisions and policy disagreements rife in the party. And as some staunch Liberals drifted to the right of the political spectrum, others moved to the left, offering support to the new craze of an organised Labour Party. Where before, the Liberals had often used Labour to reignite their centrist challenge in commanding some of the left-wing vote in a Lib-Lab alliance, now Labour were willing to compete on their own. But these problems were swept under the rug as the Liberals smashed their way to a landslide at the general election in 1906. Leader Henry Campbell Bannerman launched hostility towards rival policies, specifically the Tory tariff reform, which threatened free trade. Campbell Bannerman entered into another Lib-Lab alliance of sorts to once again swing the left-wing vote. Yet this victory only served to cause Liberals to ignore the crippling problems in their own party. It was, in some respects, a fluke. Tory policy towards free trade brought immense public fury, which the Liberal Party capitalised on. And as the Liberals entered 16 years of power, they ignored the issues deeply set in their party. The election victory had seen a move to the left, but the rise of new liberalism was a deep threat to the party. These were not a reason for the Liberals to enter terminal decline. The inner party issues perhaps explain a period of reinvention after 1922. But why were they never able to reach power again? Why could they not recover?
It must be said, however, that despite mere pre-war struggles, what they would soon face in a conflict against Germany would destroy their party far more than anyone could have imagined.
Initially, signs were good for the Liberal Party, with Asquith's skillful entry into the war, keeping the Liberal pacifist wing on side. As well as that, Asquith's business-as-usual approach kept many of his supporters on side and reassured of a British victory. Had the war been over by Christmas, as many suspected, it is likely the Liberal Party would have emerged a very strong force. Sadly for the Liberals, however, things soon took a turn for the worse, and it was decided that they did need to form a coalition with Liberal and Labour ministers too. Events in the war, such as the shortage of shells and a lack of manpower, forced Liberals to compromise some of their policies, such as the fact that they were against conscription on a moral level. Failure both in war and in party politics of this coalition was a crucial point for the Liberal Party, as it was where the strain on Asquith and Lloyd George's relation really began to show itself. Lloyd George was appointed Minister of Munitions and immediately got to work, having an enormously positive impact, whereas Asquith, leader of the Liberal Party and leader of the coalition government, did very little. Lloyd George's frustration with Asquith's slow decision-making brought him closer to Conservatives and helped him form allies, which would eventually bring about the end of the Asquith coalition, forming the Lloyd George coalition in December 1960. While at the time, it may have seemed like a much better idea, giving Lloyd George, a more efficient leader, power, In the long run, it was in fact hugely damaging to the Liberal Party to split like that. They were in trouble. This split caused a huge rift in the Liberal Party, which would only widen during post-war issues.
After the damage of the war, the Liberals were left in a sorry state, but the question must be asked, why could they not recover? After the war, the Liberals failed to find party unity, with Mark Rathbone saying that the animosity between Asquith and David Lloyd George proved impossible to eradicate.
A formal reunion did not stop the internal conflict. Squiffites became angry at David Lloyd George for the extensive sale of honours during his leadership. However, the first public conflict between the two came at the General Strike of 1926. Asquith sided with Baldwin on this matter, whereas David Lloyd George said the government was equally, if not more responsible than the Trade Unions Congress for the strike. Another main problem that arose during the 20th century was the financial issue in the Liberal Party. With strain on finances from 3 elections between 1922 and 24, and little money coming in from the David Lloyd George Fund at first, the Liberal Party was weakened post-war. Furthermore, the reluctance of David Lloyd George to donate money caused more party divisions. Overall, this led to a reduction in candidates at elections, as it could only afford to put up a small amount of candidates compared to other parties. For example, only 339 were put up in 1924, which was considerably less than Labour and Conservatives. There were other problems, such as the electoral system not favouring 3 parties and weak Asquith leadership, but I would say the main reason for post-war collapse was due to the party unity throughout the 1920s.
Oh, jolly good shot, sire. Historians differ in opinion on what caused the Liberal decline. Wilson says it would be ignorant to suggest that the decline was either a result of political conflict, Ireland, labour unrest, the suffragette movement, or the First World War. It's simply impossible to know. What a cop-out. Clark. It's difficult to tell when the Liberals fell. It certainly wasn't before 1915. He cites the war as the bus. The Liberals being hit by this bus, Dangerfield. Liberalism was killed in 1913 after the birth of New England flaring in the background since 1910. Who knows? And Sykes, our good friend Sykes. Liberalism drove people to Labour, who were then able to take advantage when the bus of the First World War hit. Who knows? We presented the facts, but it's for you to decide. In 1886, the Liberal Party reached a real roadblock. The issue...
Lloyd George's.
Just say that.
War was a bit bad, but then they
It's up.
Right.